So I want to welcome everybody here to this Infiniscope for Higher Education session. Normally we think about Infiniscope as being something for K-12, but in fact, it turns out that if you build really cool stuff for high school and even middle school, it can find application in higher ed. And we want to share some of that and give you some ideas of how you might be able to do some of the same. So I'm Ariel Onbar. I'm a professor here in the School of Earth and Space Exploration at Arizona State University. I'm the PI of the Infiniscope project, which is the source for all the goodies you're going to be hearing about. I am myself an astrobiologist, card carrying if there were cards, but also spent a lot of my time doing education innovation in various sorts of ways. I guess his title says astrobiologist, educator, and innovator. So I guess I'm not an education innovator, I'm just an innovator. With me here today is Joe Tamer, who's the assistant director or deputy PI of Infiniscope and the deputy director of the Center for Education through Exploration. So Joe, I'm going to turn it over to you to walk through the big picture here, and then I will come back towards the end to talk a little bit about what we're doing specifically with an online astronomy degree program.
Awesome. Thank you, Ariel, and welcome everybody. So glad to have you guys join us for Digital Learning Week. And as Ariel said, I've been here at ASU working with the ETX Center for the last 7 years and working with Infiniscope. And it has been pretty awesome to see the evolution of what we've built. And once you put it out into the universe, how people use it. So in case you don't know, and we have this funny name, Infiniscope. What is Infiniscope? And really, when at least I think of Infiniscope, I think of it as three things. The first thing is a portal. It's a web-based portal. It's a website where you can go as an educator and find adaptive lessons that teach NASA science concepts, use NASA data. And these lessons are learned by doing lessons. They're constructivist. You are using a simulation. You're in a virtual field trip, and the student is doing something. Here you see them collecting data from a rock face, and they're looking for the iridium layer, evidence of the impact that killed off the dinosaurs. And you can see they got the wrong period because they have not collected enough data. They got personalized feedback on what they are doing, and they collect data, and now they can complete their graph and get the answer correct and move on. In lots of our lesson design, failure is an option because we want them to learn by doing and get feedback and learn from that feedback so they can improve on their understanding. So the type of lessons that are on the Infiniscope portal. And let's go to the next one. But it's not just a portal, right? If we are going to offer these lessons, we want to have a community that understands how to use them. And Ariel, there's a couple of people in the waiting room. If you could let them in, that would be great. So we've built this community of over 2,500 educators. Middle school, high school, college, informal, librarians, museums, formal educators. And amongst those educators, we've had over 1 million launches of our lessons over time. So we've got a growing community that's using these lessons. And not only do we have the lessons, but we offer training on how to use these lessons, how to create your lessons, how to customize what we have on the portal. You can make your own virtual tours. You can learn how to enroll students in your LMS with these lessons. So we don't just put it out there. We want to create an understanding and a culture and a community for how you can best use these and also create on your own. And once you do, we have a community of instructors, faculty, teachers that have created these lessons. Under this contributed content row of the portal, you can see that these are lessons created by members of our community. They share them back with our Infiniscope team. We post them on the portal. Right there, you see the Solar Energy Lab that's done by an ASU alum, Cyan Proctor. who's also an astronaut now. So she's created VFTs with us, used them with her students in Maricopa County Community College. You're seeing here, these are virtual tours created by educators themselves. So we can make big and fancy VFTs that go on the portal, but we also have tools for you to create your own virtual tours. And I'll show you that right now. So as part of the Infiniscope project, we've created this tool called Tour It, which is for immersive storytelling. And what this is, it's a web-based application that allows you to take your own media with your phone, video, panoramic images, and you can do place-based education, all on the web for free if you are an Infiniscope member. And as you're seeing here, you put in a panorama, you can name it, you create a hotspot, and you can take your students to these places and you can insert images and captions, and you can send them to videos of the elder here at the Sacred Heiau, telling them about the importance of this location and this site to their community. And you can text-based information on those, and you can hop around in the environment. And this is a great accessible way. If you can't take your students physically to a place, this is a way to share your story about why it is important and how it's relevant to your curriculum. All free. It just takes your time and effort to do it. You can do it in a couple hours. You can do it, more elaborate in a week. But Infiniscope makes these authoring tools available to its community. Let's see. It's not advanced. Let's advance. There we go. Third, Infiniscope is a studio. We're a design studio, and we've built courses like Habitable Worlds. Habitable Worlds has been around for over a decade now. We're in our third generation of the course. And this is an introductory online interdisciplinary science course that actually counts for lab credit. You can see there's lesson objectives. There are virtual field trips that you can do with your students. And it leverages the lessons of Infiniscope. There are lessons from Infiniscope that are also in HabWorlds. Here, you're looking at the atmospheric chamber. So you're understanding how radiation interacts with molecules. Students can change variables and observe what the effects of those changes are. So it's learn by doing. It's the same changing the gas, the changing the radiation, and you see the spectra change. And that's what HabWorlds is all about. And it is project-based. So there are, there's a project at the end, and we have lessons that teach you the core concepts. Then you need to go apply those concepts to a star field that you get on day one of the course. And you learn the concepts, then apply them to the project. You need to search the star field for habitable planets using the concepts that you've learned along the way. So it really is an interesting and different type of online class, and that is supported by Infiniscope. There we go. And I could talk to you all day about Infiniscope, but I think I've actually talked a lot, for the first 10 minutes. And I think many of you are here to hear how other instructors use Infiniscope lessons, use Infiniscope-based courses in their teaching at the college level. So here we have Heather Chilton. Heather is a lecturer and lab coordinator at Georgia Tech. She has supported many of the faculty at her institution in a course called Habitable Planets, and I'll let her tell you more about it. There we go.
My name is Heather Chilton. I work for Georgia Tech as a lecturer and lab coordinator support for our Earth and Atmospheric Sciences department. The course at Georgia Tech in which we integrate these materials, these lessons from Infiniscope, is called Habitable Planet. A bit of overlap, but the course itself is an introductory science lab course. It qualifies as the general, courses that they can select for a lab science. So we really do encompass in our course an exceptional range of student backgrounds and overall diversity. And so this adaptivity within the content really helps us enable the students to progress through and learn and be involved with the content at the level of which they are performing, which is something that we have been extremely grateful for. Some of the things that lessons such as with DynoDoom really allow us to do that otherwise we are really at a loss for is to give students experiences, these sort of remote field trips and the sense of going to places and interacting as a scientist that, in a large class of 250 students, we wouldn't be able to do a field trip like that. We wouldn't be able to go to the places and see these major markers and do some of the tests that we're able to do through these lessons. So for our course, we have actually taken two approaches over the years, both of which have been highly successful in sort of different purposes for customizing the content for the needs of our course and our students. In one, we've been able to sort of select the individual lessons and incorporate them in whole into the larger scope of our course, which was a very hands-off approach that allowed us to focus on assisting the students and really paring in on the specific content we wanted. And the other approach that we've done in the past has been to heavily customize the individual lessons so that those specific lessons are then directly correlated to the content we are trying to teach within the course itself. So the unique aspects to these lessons that have been really crucial and core to why we have selected this content has been the adaptivity and ability for students to not just get feedback, but to progress through a couple of pathways to address the understanding and see, in the case of Star Party, how the evolution of these generations of stars, not just see the process itself, which they might find in online simulations where you just play with variables. Now with these Infiniscope lessons, you are able to get student feedback as they maybe progress down a pathway you want to redirect them, or if they are running into errors, there's feedback that allows them to really engage with and more deeply explore in a guided fashion the content being addressed in these lessons. And that's just been an absolute blessing in our classrooms as a way of engaging with the students in ways that, certainly homework problems and even to a degree other simulations elsewhere try and get to, but just don't have that fullness or depth. So the Star Party lesson has been an incredible and important component within our Georgia Tech course using the Infiniscope lesson. The ability to model the life cycle and the long-term evolution through a series of generation of stars that you can't recreate in a lab or a lecture setting beyond maybe a few videos or models. This lesson instead allows the students to progress through and see the changes of these stars and how an entire nebula will evolve over time in a variety of methods, and understand some of the tools we use in order to analyze and understand the implications of those generational changes across stars.
All right, so that's Heather, and we have three other.
My name is
Let's see. There we go. So Heather was at Georgia Tech. Hab Worlds and Infiniscope lessons are also used at Maricopa County Community College, and Kevin Healy is astronomy faculty at the Mesa campus. And he wanted to share with you a little bit about how they use Infiniscope resources.
So my name is Kevin Healy. I'm astronomy faculty at Mesa Community College, and primarily I teach Astronomy 106, Search for Habitable Worlds, Astrobiology, and the AST 112, Stars, Galaxies, and Cosmology. So AST 106 is one of 3 courses that we offer at MCC. It is the newest course. We've offered Astronomy 111, the Solar System course, and Astronomy 112, the Stars, Galaxies, and Cosmology course for a number of years. About 6-7 years ago, we began offering Astronomy 106. We use AST 106 for our lab science credit, either for the programs here at Mesa Community College or for transfer to one of the 4-year institutions. And we use Hab World specifically because it is a complete package in terms of lessons that introduce concepts, short assessments that that measure the students' understanding of the concepts and the calculations that they're being asked to do, and then the really cool project, which has them, in a sense, mimic the kind of work that real astronomers do when they are analyzing data from stars and from planets, to winnow down, to filter down to those that are most likely to be habitable. The later lessons in Hab Worlds provide the students with virtual field trips where they can visit important sites around the world to examine the fossil record directly using 360-degree spherical imagery. Students are able to zoom in on that imagery to see details in the rock, details in fossil impressions, and I think it really gives a sense of being there out in the open, on open ground, being at one of these important sites, recognizing as they work through the material what the fossil record, what the geological record actually tells us about the history of life on Earth. I think one of the other strengths of Hab Worlds is the number of really detailed and beautiful simulations that are available. Anything from a timeline of Earth's history to a visualization of the life cycle of a star, things that visualize concepts that we normally talk about in an astronomy class, but it provide that visual aspect that students often are looking for, and I think also provide a stronger impact in that where they are able to play and explore a concept in a way that perhaps a static figure on a page, either in a textbook or in a handout, just doesn't provide.
Alrighty, and we have one more. Lucas Fenrick is here at ASU, and ASU has a catalog of universal learner courses. I'm gonna let him tell you what that program is all about and how that program uses these Infiniscope resources. So here's Lucas.
Hey there, I'm Lucas Fenrick. I'm the Director of Universal Learner Courses here at the Learning Enterprise at Arizona State University. We're focused on the K through 20 pipeline, helping everyone have access to education, no matter where they're at, really in life. So here within the Universal Learner Courses program here at ASU, we leverage both the Habitable Worlds course as well as Infiniscope lessons within that, within these open access college courses that anyone in the world can try. The program is really interesting. It's learners can sign up online for college classes. There's true ubiquitous access. Everyone in the world is admissible. It's $25 to start those classes. And then if you pass the class and you like your grade, it's $400. If you pass a subset of these classes, you can actually earn admission to the university. You know, our learners come from all walks of life. The vast majority are trying to earn their admission to the university. And so maybe had a bad educational experience in the past, or just maybe just didn't find the right route their first time around. Another large portion come from the high school environment, but many of them aren't even sure if college is right for them. When they come into these courses and they get to see in SES 106, our Habitable Worlds class, real lessons from NASA, I think it just elevates the opportunity for them. It showcases that it wasn't just maybe one professor that had some exciting ideas and got to throw them around, but rather the backing of such a large and prestigious organization within those assets. I think it really gives people the chance to see what's possible for themselves and to connect to something bigger themselves as well. For a long time, we had challenges with how to build really interactive, high quality courses within an environment where we are getting very few resources on the front end. Luckily, the SES 106 Habitable Worlds course that we offer leverages a really highly adapted platform and the Infiniscope lessons that help us move in the right direction, reduce our costs to actually operate those courses, and still provide a really high quality of learning for the learners that come through our program. For the vast majority of our courses, there's an individual faculty member, maybe some graders on our side, and then hundreds, if not thousands, of students that are taking the course. In many instances that we offer those courses, it's a traditional classroom environment, right? They're taking asynchronous courses, so they might be watching lectures, submitting assignments, submitting papers, and having those graded and giving feedback. However, this Habitable Worlds course is much more interactive. It allows for learners to apply what they're learning immediately, get real-time feedback in a project-based learning course, so that they're not sitting there passively hoping that they're learning something and then reciting it for a test, but rather applying those lessons immediately and getting real-time feedback so that they can make those adjustments on the fly. If you want to find out more about Universal Learner Courses, you can come to ea.asu.edu. and you'll be able to sign up immediately for college level courses. Again, everyone in the world is admissible. We've got tens of thousands of people taking these college courses, and it doesn't matter what your previous academic standing was. Truly, you can come in, take college level courses, get academic credit, and then find your path opportunity in whatever way is most useful for you.
Awesome. And last but not least is our own Dr. Ariel Anbar. So Ariel, do you want to tell us about how Infiniscope is being used in the online astronomy planetary science degree?
Sure. So I've changed my background here because behind me is the main building of the School of Earth and Space Exploration at Arizona State University, where I happen to be a professor. So, you know, this is a traditional university with lots of students who are taking on-ground degree programs like anybody else, but ASU also is a pioneer in fully online degree programs. So we have, I think at this point, close to 80,000 students overall enrolled in fully online, matriculated into fully online degree programs. And among those degree programs is the Astronomical and Planetary Sciences degree program in the School of Earth and Space Exploration. So it enables students from anywhere in the world to enroll in essentially the same kind of degree program that the students who go to this building are able to enroll in. And as that program is about 2 years old now. It's got about 300 undergraduate majors in that program. And as we develop that here in School of Earth and Space Exploration, and we're looking for high quality assets to build around, the Infiniscope resources that we were building separately with NASA funding became kind of highly useful and are now sort of critical to several courses that are in that program. You've heard already about the Habitable Worlds course that has been discussed in a couple of other presentations. It's offered as a ULC course at ASU. It's being used at Maricopa, and it's also components of it are used in the Habitable Planet course that is taught at Georgia Tech. So it's also a course in the degree program at ASU. So it's one of the required courses for undergraduates in that program. But additional courses, there are astronomy courses, solar system astronomy and stars and galaxies astronomy that also make use of resources built by the Infiniscope project. So various Infiniscope digital learning experiences serve as laboratory experiences in the introductory astronomy courses that we've developed here. And so that degree program, those 300 students are going through a variety of these experiences as part of their regular college level curriculum. And as I mentioned at the outset, it's really interesting. As it turns out, if you design something, we learned the hard way. If you design a rich learning experience for college, it's very hard to take it even into senior or junior level high school. But if you design something for, even middle school, it can find use in college level instruction for STEM. It's easier to take something simple and build complexity around it as a teacher than it is to take something that's inherently complex and simplify it to that lower level. So many of the things that we have built for K-12 as part of Infiniscope turn out to have use as laboratory or other assets in these college level astronomy courses in this degree program. The degree program is really interesting in terms of who it reaches. Only about a quarter of the students in that degree program are first-time freshmen, are coming to college for the first time. The rest of them, 75%, are transfer students or students who are retraining into new degrees. They already have a bachelor's degree and they're coming to get a second bachelor's degree. So it's this very large underserved community of students, underserved market of students who are distinct from the typical student who comes to college. At ASU, about half our population are transfer students from community colleges, but this is a different population altogether. The community college students, I think that by and large, most of them are coming in a sort of typical flow from high school into college, but they go to community college first. They may take some time off. These students are coming into the fully online program are quite different. Their average age is close to 30 years old. I've had students in the Habitable Worlds course that's taught here that I teach who are as old as in their 70s. We have very broad range. And they also are more diverse than our on-ground program. About 30% of those online students come from minoritized or underrepresented groups. And interestingly, about a quarter of them have some military affiliation of some sort. So many of these students are, a good fraction of them actually are active duty students. So these are folks deployed in various places in the world and trying to further their education. Other of them have been in the military and are now, they've settled down, they've got kids, they've got families, they're living somewhere, and they're trying to enhance their education and have found their way into this program. So it's really interesting how this all works, and in terms of opening up higher education, high quality higher education this way. And it's been really rewarding to see how these kind of interactive experiences, which you heard about, I'm not going into the pedagogy because you heard a lot about the pedagogy, this learn by doing kind of pedagogy, the project in HabWorld that gives a sort of a project-based learning flavor. These kind of things make these courses feel to these students like, much more like real college courses. It's not just looking at videos and then answering multiple choice questions and going through PowerPoint slides. You're actually learning by doing, and it tries to bring that kind of lab style exploration flavor into the courses. So those free Infiniscope experiences that you can go and experience on your own, we can just make sure that you all have the URL. When you work them into a college class, they provide that extra level of sophistication that makes the learning feel like you're, if you're a student paying tuition, like you're getting your money's worth from an online class. So I'm gonna stop there. I think that takes us about halfway through the hour, which leaves us for a good half hour for questions and conversation. And Joe, I'm gonna throw it back to you to moderate.
Sure, and I just put the link for Infiniscope in the chat. And if we just go back here and I go there. There we go. So there is a little survey and I will, do I need to, actually, I need to actually stop sharing to get the chat link, the survey link. And in that survey link, it really is a simple survey. If you'd like more information on how to use Infiniscope lessons with your students, we can send you information on that and get you on a mailing list. If you'd like to get training on virtual tours, we can get you information on that. If you want training on how to make your own adaptive lessons. So really the survey is, if you want to connect with us more, we want to know who you are and what you'd like, and we will tailor that to your interests. But with that, I will open up to questions and I'll put the survey in the chat. So, and you can also put your questions in the chat. So look at the survey one moment. Who has the first question? And there it is in the chat. All right, Sarah has a question. Sarah, what's your question? Thank you for raising your hand.
Yeah, it's not really a question, more of a comment. Is I've been using Infiniscope now for 2 semesters for my lower level and upper level. I teach at the University of Houston downtown. I'm a geology professor there, and I apply the lessons in Infiniscope for structural geology and field methods. It was a great resource when we couldn't go out in the field and teach students how to apply these field method techniques. And it was nice to have geologists explaining their observations, their first order observations and their approaches on how to explain the rock units. And then actually taking the training for virtual tours. And I'm in the process right now of making a few of their rough draft. I'm hoping that one of them will make it onto your website. And then what I'm really excited about now is these lessons, these adaptive lessons that we can create for our courses, because I really do like these simple lessons that allow our students to build on. And I'll get feedback from students like, that was really cool, but I want more. I want more. I want something that I can engage in more. And I think these adaptive lessons are great. So good job, guys. And I really appreciate all the hard work that you've been doing. Keep doing it. Thank you.
Thank you for using Infiniscope and sharing that. And what you've been talking about, exactly why we designed Infiniscope, so that you can use things off the shelf, but you can also customize them and create your own. Because we have an idea of what people would like to see, what students would like to see, what faculty would like to use, but there's more ideas out there than we can produce. So I love that you're taking the training to create the virtual tours and those lessons. That's what we want, an ecosystem of creators. Ariel?
Yeah. So first of all, you thanked us. So it's a good opportunity for us to thank the much larger team that really does all the work. I'm the PI, Joe's the deputy PI. So, I get people in trouble. Joe kind of makes sure that we stay out of too much trouble, but then there's a large team that actually does all the work. I see Leon Manfredi's here. So Leon used to be part of our team, right? So some of the things you're working with, he had a big hand in. So kudos, as I said, there's a lot of people who put a lot of effort and a lot of passion into these things. So hopefully that shows. The other thing is, if you like the idea, or not the idea, the reality that you're able to build your own experiences, you may have seen this in some of the most recent training. We are working on a tool to make it really easy for a newbie to come in and build a simple adaptive lesson with different question types and different types of feedback. It'll be a drag and drop kind of interface, so you won't need to do any kind of real or anything close to coding. You kind of move the screens into position, then load them up in a menu-driven kind of drag and drop interface, and can rewire the logic and see graphically in a flowchart sort of a way how students will progress depending on what they do and what questions they answer. So we think that's going to be, we're hoping that's going to be a game changer in making it easy for people to step into this, because the vision is this should just be part of the toolkit, right? If you're an educator, it's of course for a long time been part of the toolkit to give a worksheet or something like that with problems. And then of course we went digital, so now the answers can be submitted digitally, so that's kind of nice. But wouldn't we like to be able to build that homework assignment so that it actually provides feedback to the student about what they're getting wrong? Because you kind of know what students are going to tend to get wrong, right? So turn that into like a tutored experience. It's not that hard to conceptually do that once you think about it. It's just the tools haven't been there to make it easy. So we want to make that easy. So that's separate from the really flashy simulation driven kind of stuff that you see. It's just the basic blocking and tackling of, here's a question, you've got to figure something out, submit your answer, and then right away get some feedback on whether you've got it right or not. And if you've got it wrong, here's some suggestions of what you might want to do, right? Any good teacher can do that if the tools are there. So that's part of our vision. So
yeah, that's basically what I've been doing, is taking videos, either they're YouTube videos or books, the smart books that are available, and just kind of building on that with the resources like Teams. They have different video applications and surveys that you can turn into the forums and things like that. So a lot of interaction that way. But I like the idea of just having kind of a place, like a one-stop place that all the tools are there, and any problems for troubleshooting, it really helps. Instead of having to go from one application to another application to another application, this is just in one place. I can reach out to one person and get that help, and that's really nice that you have people that are willing to take the time to help the educators.
Yeah, and it's been really exciting to see the community response there too. It used to, in the old days, it used to be, you'd come to us and we would have to give you the answer, right? And now we've got a critical mass where educators are helping each other, and that's a beautiful thing to see. It decentralizes the production piece of that. One thing just to note, so yes, there are these workshops so that you can go and create your own lessons and or virtual tours, but also which there's an effort related to Infiniscope where we're going to have some stipends for teachers and instructors to create lessons that complement some of the bigger labs and flagship activities that we do, right? Because you'd love to teach everything, but sometimes we've got to stop a lesson somewhere. But I'd love to add this, or it would be nice if we had this context before the lesson started. And those are lessons that teachers, faculty, instructors can build. And so we've set aside some money that after the tools come out, instructors who are really jazzed about authoring can maybe work with us to design some of those, what we call discovery lessons, shorter lessons, and to compensate you for a little bit of your time to help contribute. So there was another question. Robert asked, I'm going to cue this up for Ariel. How is like ChatGPT related or concerned with Infiniscope?
Yeah, so I'm the resident generative AI fan on the ETX team right now, but that's only because other folks haven't played with it enough. So I'm both scared to death and excited about this tech. The scared to death part is not really relevant to education, I don't think, or to this kind of education. I'll just say this. So one of the things that's out there in the education world is a lot of fear about people being able to use ChatGPT and other such tools to cheat, right? So one of the really nice things about these learn by doing experiences is it's actually pretty hard to use a generative AI system to cheat. It's not like you can easily ask it, well, what should I do in this simulation here, right? If you can describe out of one of these lessons well enough to ChatGPT what's going on so that it can advise you on what to do, then you probably understand things well enough that you don't need to ask, the AI for help. So at one level, I think the kind of experiences that we're building, which are learned by doing experiences, are kind of, ChatGPT cheat proof to some extent, at least in the current kind of version of that technology. But I think what's more interesting actually is not worrying about cheating, but using this kind of technology to actually enhance tutoring, right? I mean, so the dream of adaptive platforms, the dream of these kind of platforms that are sometimes referred to as intelligent tutors, is that they are trying to approximate giving each student a personalized tutor who is helping them through material. And so these AI systems, they're just kind of magical how they got to this certain scale, and suddenly they seem to actually have a certain kind of quasi-intelligence. These kind of systems, if deployed correctly, could be really powerful systems to provide students feedback. So if you've gone through our experiences, right now you have your multiple choice or drag and drop or simulation based things, and you get little feedback coming up in a bubble. That feedback is pretty simple because it's just following a simple set of rules that we've set up, that the learning designers have set up based on expected student misconceptions. There's nothing personalized about them really, except for, we are personalized to the type of misconceptions that we anticipate. But imagine replacing that with a AI system that is constrained to or instructed to respond in a Socratic mode, so that instead of giving answers, it responds to questions with other questions. And imagine that you in free form text can ask questions. The student can ask questions of the thing. Now you have a much richer interaction. You start to approximate that human tutor looking over the student's shoulder in a much more natural way than by constraining the question types to those things that we can machine assess with simple rules. So I think there's going to be something really powerful there once that gets mastered. If you follow this really closely, the release of GPT-4 has been accompanied by some interesting publicity from Khan Academy. They actually have a tutoring product that is based on GPT-4 that does kind of what I'm saying. So it's a chat bot that responds in Socratic mode. So it doesn't give answers. It responds to questions with questions to guide the student to the answer. I don't know how well that works. I haven't got my hands on that. But I think there's going to be a rich future there. So it's exciting that we're there all of a sudden. Or we're close. Or we've been much closer than we realized for a long time.
I have a question for all of you, because this is an opportunity to, do some field research with our community. If we were to build more lessons, what lessons would be the killer lessons to offer, featuring NASA science, NASA concepts, NASA data, NASA scientists? Do you all have ideas about what you'd like to see in the next year or two getting published by our team on Infiniscope? You can put ideas in chat. You can raise your hand, take the mic. I'd love to hear what you guys are thinking. All right. If no one has ideas, that's okay. All right, Robert, go ahead.
Is there a way of having some course that takes you to NASA data or data from satellites and tells you how to collect the data that you want, or go to suppose you want to look for a blue star and you want to look at it and collect some data from it and then do some analysis. So how do you go to the, if you're not a professional astronomer, how do you go to the actual websites where the data is, collect the data, and then do analysis on
That's a great question, Ariel.
You're going to have me do that. Yeah, so Lisa just posted globe.gov. So there actually are resources out there. So the Globe project, which is an Infiniscope project, does something a bit like that. Not quite what you're referring to, but close. You know, I hear you saying two things in a way, or calling for two things. One would be some sort of a system that tutors you in accessing the vast troves of data that NASA has, to be able to answer questions of interest to you. As far as I know, that does not exist, but it's a really cool idea. And since we were just talking, you were just asking about generative AI like ChatGPT, you know, I wonder if there's a world in which generative AI systems get trained up somehow on NASA data sets and the software systems to access them, so that you could do a natural language query and do that. You know, that's an interesting idea that you know, it doesn't seem all that far-fetched. You know, 3 months ago that would have sounded insane, but now it suddenly doesn't seem all that far-fetched. The other thing I hear you calling for is something that is kind of close to something we're actually doing, planning to do, which is, you know, develop a learning system, so a system for learning that allows you in a rich way to really interact with the real data. And so we are working on something, working on a concept tied to Mars sample return, with the idea that you would be able to, through virtual field trips, you know, show up, you know, beam down to locations where rovers have been, and be able to interrogate data about samples that have been collected, and then perhaps even, you know, be able to magically beam over to the labs where these samples are going to be interrogated on Earth, and be able to walk through the kind of science that's going to be done to analyze these samples. And maybe over time, once the samples come back and are analyzed, maybe that experience evolves to be walking through the actual data that's been generated. So that's not exactly what you're talking about, but that's something that we're actually conceptualizing right now, because it's really in the learning space. So anyway, those are my first thoughts in response to the question.
Well, and I would just add on to that, you know, this is why NASA's SMD has kind of done a lot of this funded projects like Infiniscope, and Globe through, you know, the Science Activation Network, because the data from NASA is hard to get into the hands of students to learn from, right? So they have these teams, Infiniscope is one of them, to try and make this NASA science more tangible, more useful for education and public outreach. So there are, Ariel, how many teams are there now? 52, 54
Something like that.
teams that are funded. You know, we are in this realm of adaptive learning and middle school, high school, introductory college, but there are other teams that are focusing on museums and libraries and earth science and, you know, planetariums. So they're trying, and, you know, this is our effort to try and get more of that data into the nation's classrooms. So
Do any of these, can ChatGPT or something like it actually do reading in, say, something like American Journal of Physics, and you ask it a question and it'll find papers for you that are on that topic, or help you?
So it's interesting. That turns out to be a lot more difficult than you might think. Well, one part of that is easy, right? So you could, I mean, I've done this not with a paper, but with other sorts of information. You can pretty easily feed these systems text, and a paper could be text, and then ask it questions about that text and get pretty good answers. So, you know, I've done this where I've fed it a bunch of text and then asked it to give me summaries of what I've given it. So that I haven't tried that yet with a scientific paper, oddly enough. But that's probably because ChatGPT can only take in 1,000 or 2,000 words worth of custom data. GPT-4, the new version, supposedly is 10 times bigger than that. So then you could feed in a scientific paper. So that'll be interesting to start playing with. The hard part is, you want sources, you want it to like see the table of contents, then be able to give you information. I want a paper on, blue stars that might have planets, right? And get the papers that might have that information. So that turns out to be difficult with these large language models, because these systems are not actually built. I mean, there's a misconception. They're not actually designed to provide you correct information. They're not search systems. They're language models. So what they're designed to do, what the software is designed to do, is to give you a very plausible sounding response to your query. And so as it turns out, when you follow through the algorithms and how they work, they do a great job of inventing papers. Like if I go to ChatGPT and I ask it, give me 5 papers, research papers written by Ariel Anbar, it will very gladly and quickly produce very accurate seeming 5 papers, but only one of them will be a real paper that I wrote. The others will sound pretty good because it will have started with my name, and it knows from a statistical modeling of all the stuff it's read, which is billions of things on the internet, right? It knows what topics would be associated with my name. So it starts with something, in my case, would be about oxygen in Earth's history, and it makes it a plausible sounding title. And it knows that papers with that kind of title, will likely be published in a certain set of journals. Like it wouldn't come up with, some history journal. It'll come up with a real science journal, or a real sounding science journal in a plausible sounding year, but it's a fake citation. It's a statistically plausible answer to the question.
So it couldn't go and search, say, the archive and look for things. It doesn't have enough room to do that kind of a thing.
It doesn't have enough. So what these systems do, I don't want to get too in the weeds with this because people have other questions too, right? But what these systems do is they have on the front end a statistical model of what words follow what words based on looking at billions of words on the internet. And then they have whatever the prompt is, whatever you're asking, which can be the sentence you ask, as well as, a couple of thousand words of other, of conversation or of a text you fed it, right? So you've given it some context, and then you're asking it something, and it draws on its knowledge of what words go with which words to give you a plausible sounding answer to your query. That's what a large language model is. So it's not designed to be accurate. It's designed to be statistically sensible. If that makes any sense.
Thank you.
Yep.
All right, we have 5 minutes left, so time for one more question. And so I see Leon there. Oh, we have, trying to read at the same time here. If we want to create our own adaptive lesson, how hard is it to use it in Canvas so that students can earn a grade for it? Also, is there a fee associated with that?
All right, Joe, you field that one.
Okay, so if you want to create your own adaptive lesson and it is NASA related, right, and it fits on Infiniscope, cool, you send it, you share it back with us, and if it's all good, we can do a little proof to make sure it's good and accurate, and then we can put it on the portal. And while the program is funded, it can sit there and everybody can use it, and there's no cost because it sits on our portal, right? Can you take a lesson that is from Infiniscope and put it in your LMS? Yes, there's an option on Infiniscope to take lessons that are on our portal and enroll your students in them through their LMS. No cost to that. If you're creating a lesson that's not NASA related, right, or not shared with the community on the portal, then on small cases, there's not an issue. When you go start sharing that largely, there's going to be costs with scale. And if you're using it with your institution, yes, there's going to be costs because NASA pays for the lessons that are hosted on Infiniscope and pays for when they're shared throughout the community. So Leanne, does that answer your question? If it's done within the use case of NASA Infiniscope, while NASA Infiniscope is funded, which will be through at least 2.5 more years, and we've been going for a while, and we'll hopefully go get renewed and things like that. But Leanne, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think so. Well, like it's something, it would be like an earth science related, and it would probably just be used with my class, one lesson used with my class, or maybe another professor that's teaching the same class at the community college. So, I would say less than 100 students would use it, a semester. So these would be pretty small things.
Yeah, if you create it and you're using it with your students,
Mhm.
there's no issue and you're an Infiniscope member.
Okay.
No.
All right. Thanks.
You're welcome. All right, that brings us to the end of the hour, and we're so grateful that you guys joined us. We enjoyed the conversation, and if you have questions and you want follow-up, there's a survey form. You also have our information from the registration to this presentation. Reach out. We'd love to have you be members of the Infiniscope community. We'd love you to participate in that community and our workshops and our trainings and be partners in changing the world. All right, anything else to say in conclusion?
No, just thank you all for your time and attention and for spreading the good word about what we're doing, and feel free to hit us up with any further questions.